Have you ever felt like the harder you try, the further it slips away? That maddening sense that the more you want it, the love, the message, the breakthrough, the more invisible it becomes. It's not because you're broken. It's not because you're unworthy. It's because you're trying to grab reality with your hands instead of receiving it with your being. You don't see it, but you're pushing it away. Not on purpose, but with pressure, with urgency, with the silent hum of, "Why hasn't it happened yet?" vibrating through your every thought. Your desire is real, your vision is alive, but the frequency you're sending, that's what's fogging the signal. You can't summon magic while bracing for disappointment. You can't become the version of you who already has it while constantly checking if it's arrived. Every time you monitor the timeline, every time you squeeze the moment for results, you interfere with the field. Like yelling into still water and wondering why you can't see your reflection. Manifestation doesn't respond to noise. It mirrors coherence. It mirrors surrender. It mirrors the nervous system that isn't in fight or flight, but in trust. And the truth is, most people are living in a constant vibrational contradiction, asking for expansion while breathing through contraction, asking for flow while moving with force, asking to receive while unknowingly shielding their own heart from the very intimacy they crave. It's not your fault. It's your wiring. You were trained to chase, to calculate, to plan, to earn. But you were not trained to open, to soften, to let your body become the space where reality reshapes itself. That's what's missing. Not another technique, not another affirmation, but a deeper surrender to the truth that manifestation is not what you do, it's what you allow, not with effort, but with essence. You don't manifest what you want, you manifest what you are. And if what you are is tense, rushed, doubtful, and fixated on how and when, you are pushing away the very timeline trying to meet you. It's like reaching out for someone while stepping back at the same time. The signal says yes, but the body says not yet. The intention says, "I trust," but the tone says, "I need it now." And the universe doesn't respond to your words. It responds to your vibration, to your embodiment, to your energetic safety. So the question isn't, why isn't it here? The question is, what part of me doesn't feel safe if it were? Sit with that. What part of you is afraid it won't last? What part of you still believes you have to fight to be chosen, to be seen, to be free? These are not blocks. These are invitations. Invitations to soothe the parts of you that learned urgency as love, control as protection, obsession as devotion. You can't just think your way into alignment. You have to feel your way into safety. And safety doesn't come from the outside. It comes from coherence, from the moment you breathe deeper than the story, from the moment you stop arguing with what is, and start harmonizing with what's becoming, from the moment you unclench your fists and let the field come to you. This is not passive, this is power, because now you're not just trying to make it happen, you're becoming the frequency that magnetizes it. You're becoming the reality where it's already true. You're no longer asking the world to deliver, you're asking yourself to remember, and that changes everything. I remember the nights I begged the sky in silence, not with words, but with the weight in my chest. That quiet ache of wanting to be seen by life, to be chosen by something bigger than chance. I would visualize, I would script, I would say the affirmations until they lost meaning, and still nothing. The silence grew louder, and with it the doubt. Was I doing it wrong? Was the universe ignoring me? Or worse, was I invisible to the divine? But it wasn't silence, it was signal, not absence, but instruction. Life wasn't saying no. It was saying not from there, not from the frequency of needing, not from the tension of trying, not from the fear disguised as strategy. Because here's the thing no one tells you. You can be doing all the right things, but if the signal beneath them is, "I don't have it yet," then the field will mirror that. You are not creating reality with your words. You're shaping it with your tone, with your breath, with the space you do or don't leave open for the miracle to land. It's like music. You can't hear the melody if your life is filled with static. You can't receive the whisper if you're screaming inside for results. The field is precise, impeccable. It doesn't miss, but it does wait for coherence, for congruence between your desire and your state. Not just what you want, but what your nervous system believes is safe to hold. So if love feels like threat, if success feels like pressure, if joy feels fleeting and undeserved, your body will subtly push away what your mind is calling in, not as sabotage, as protection. And this is why embodiment matters, because you don't just manifest from vision, you manifest from regulation, from rhythm, from the way your shoulders release when you finally stop trying to prove your worth, from the exhale that says, even if it's not here yet, I'm already whole. That frequency, that's what draws reality close. That's what collapses time, not your chase, your coherence. And it starts in moments so small they're almost invisible. The pause before checking your phone for the message, the breath you choose instead of spiraling into what if, the softness you allow when your mind wants to brace. Those are the moments that signal to the field, I am ready to receive. I trust this unfolding. Because manifestation is not a sprint, it's a synchronization. You don't get there faster by running harder. You get there by becoming the version of you who isn't running at all, who is already living in the reality she once craved because she feels it now, in her chest, in her stillness, in her unapologetic softness. You don't need more force. You need more frequency. And frequency is not built through obsession, it's built through devotion, not to the outcome, but to your own alignment, to your own energetic truth. Because when you become the embodiment of the life you want, the field has no choice but to mirror you, not because you controlled it, but because you became it, not with pressure, with presence, not from lack, from remembrance. This is the shift, from manifesting to magnetizing, from hoping to knowing, from chasing to anchoring. You are not waiting, you are arriving right now, in this breath, in this moment, in this frequency. There's a moment, so quiet, most people miss it, when your energy shifts before your reality does, when the grip loosens, when the story softens, when the need to control becomes a curiosity instead of a compulsion. That moment isn't loud. It doesn't come with fireworks or proof. It comes with peace. And that peace is the portal. Because that's when you stop sending mixed signals. That's when your frequency starts to match the timeline you've been reaching for. Not from the mind, from the body, from the subtle, sacred coherence between your heart and your breath. That's when the field begins to bend. Not because you made it happen, Mutt, but because you became a match to it happening. Let me ask you something. Have you ever walked into a room and instantly felt the tension without anyone saying a word? That's frequency. That's coherence, or the lack of it. And you emit it constantly. Every glance, every choice, every inhale that's cut short by worry, every smile that's laced with, am I enough? You don't manifest by saying the right things. You manifest by becoming a vibrational lighthouse, steady, clear, safe for what you desire to land in. So what does that mean in real life? It means when you're tempted to spiral into doubt, you pause. You place your hand on your heart. You remind your body, we are safe. Not because you have the evidence, but because you are creating the evidence with that very breath. It means when you feel the urge to check if it's working, the email, the text, the sign, you catch yourself, you smile, you realize, if I'm checking, I'm not trusting. And then you come back to stillness, to your spine, to your own center of gravity. This is not avoidance. This is quantum responsibility. Because alignment is not a passive state, it's a sacred discipline. A moment-by-moment choosing of coherence over chaos, of presence over panic, of embodiment over escape. And the more you choose that, the more you notice the field responding. Not always in the ways you expect, but in the ways you need. A chance meeting, a subtle shift in your own emotions, a wave of relief where fear used to live. These are not small things. These are indicators of timeline activation, of identity shift, of vibrational readiness. Because the field is not responding to your wish, it's responding to your regulation, to your willingness to stop outsourcing your worth to external outcomes, to your courage to become the energetic signature of your vision before it arrives. That is what collapses timelines. That is what bends probability, not by force, by frequency, not with control, but with coherence. And yes, there will be days you forget, days you fall back into the pattern, into the waiting, into the tight breath of when will it happen. That's okay, that's part of the dance. But the more you practice returning, and not to the technique but to yourself, the faster you recalibrate, because you're no longer performing the energy, you are becoming it. And embodiment is the bridge. So when you feel like giving up, remember, that's not resistance. That's recalibration. That's your old frequency dissolving. That's your body making space for a new signal to settle in. Don't fear the stillness. Don't fear the pause. That's where the magic lands, in the spaces between effort, in the moments you stop chasing and start trusting, in the silence that speaks louder than all your strategies. That's when reality shifts. Not because you demanded it, but because you finally became the space where it could arrive. There's a kind of magic that only arrives when you stop needing proof, when you stop staring at the soil demanding the seed sprout faster. You don't see the roots growing, but they are. You don't hear the transformation, but it's pulsing through every atom of your being. The moment you stop doubting the process is the moment the process begins to accelerate. Because doubt fragments the signal, and coherence speeds the timeline. Imagine your energy like a tuning fork. Every thought, every emotion, every breath, a subtle vibration that either resonates with your desire or distorts it. You don't attract what you want. You attract what you resonate. And resonance isn't created through logic. It's created through emotional congruence, through the visceral alignment of belief, safety, and identity. This is why some people manifest effortlessly, not because they're more deserving, but because they've let go of the noise, because they've stopped gripping, because they've trained their nervous system to feel safe in the in-between. That's the secret no one talks about. Manifestation isn't about calling something in. It's about no longer pushing it away. And you push it away every time you question your worth, every time you rush the timing, every time you look outside for validation before you've felt the vibration within. So let's go deeper. What would change if you fully trusted the timing of your life, not as a concept, but as a cellular truth? What would soften if you no longer believed you had to chase what's already yours vibrationally? What would open if you stopped asking, how, and started asking, who am I being? Because that's the real question. Not, what do I want? But, what version of me already lives in that reality? Is she anxious? Is she obsessed with control? Is she constantly watching for signs? Or is she relaxed, radiant in her knowing, magnetic in her ease? That version of you isn't somewhere far away. She lives underneath the version of you who's been surviving. She's already encoded in your system, waiting to be embodied. And embodiment isn't a performance. It's not pretending. It's becoming, slowly, honestly, moment by moment. It's drinking your coffee like you've already received the miracle. It's walking into the room like you belong there. It's laughing without needing a reason, crying without making it wrong. Living in such a way that reality has no choice but to shift, not because you forced it, but because you remembered who you are. And who you are is not someone trying to manifest. You are the frequency of creation itself, the observer who collapses potential into form, the consciousness that shapes the field with presence. You've just been trained to forget, trained to grip, trained to earn what is already encoded in your essence. But that training is unraveling. With every breath, you are unlearning the urgency. You are dissolving the distortion. You are replacing the frequency of fear with the rhythm of remembrance. And from that rhythm, life begins to meet you differently. The phone rings at just the right moment. The door opens you didn't even knock on. The synchronicity that makes your breath catch. These are not accidents. These are reflections, mirrors of the internal coherence you're building. Evidence that your embodiment is working. Not because reality is reacting to you, but because it is resonating with you. And in that resonance, all things become possible. Not someday. Now. Because now is the only point of creation. Not the future, not the outcome, but this breath, this presence, this choice to believe before you see, to trust before you know, to embody before you arrive. Sometimes the most radical thing you can do is slow down. Not because you're giving up, but because you're finally syncing up. Slowing down isn't failure. It's frequency recalibration. It's the pause that resets the system, the stillness that lets the signal become clean again. Because in this quantum dance, your timeline doesn't respond to your effort. It responds to your energy. And when your energy is frantic, rushed, or tight, it's like trying to tune into a song while flipping between stations. The melody can't reach you because you're not still enough to hear it. This is why surrender is not passive. It's an act of deep participation. An act of trust that says, I don't need to control it because I am already connected to it. But for most of us, control has become a safety blanket. We think if we grip tighter, we'll finally feel secure. But control doesn't create safety. It creates static. And in the static, your deepest desires can't find a place to land. Not because they're being denied, but because there's no space for them to enter. Have you ever watched someone try to catch a feather in the wind? If they chase it, it floats further. If they reach too fast, it slips away. But if they stand still, if they soften their hands, the feather drifts down into their palm. That's what your reality wants to do. Drift into your hands, land in your lap, but only when you stop chasing, only when you become soft enough to receive it. And softness, real softness, is not weakness. It's strength in its most fluid form. It's the willingness to stay open even when you don't have proof. It's the courage to breathe deeper when your mind screams for answers. It's the fierce devotion to your alignment, even when nothing has changed yet. Because in that devotion, everything begins to change. And here's the paradox. The less you try to prove you're ready, the more ready you become. The less you grasp for signs, the more signs appear. The less you obsess over the timeline, the faster it bends in your favor. Not because you're manipulating the field, but because you're harmonizing with it. The field doesn't need to be forced. It needs to be felt. And feeling is an act of embodiment, of tuning into the now so fully that the future can't help but rearrange itself to match you. That's when the shift becomes real. When you stop asking, what do I need to do, and start asking, what do I need to be? That's when you catch yourself in the middle of an old pattern and pause, not to fix it, but to feel it, to soften it, to offer it the safety it never had. And in that moment, something breaks open. The timeline cracks, light gets in, because now you're not avoiding your fear, you're integrating it, not escaping your emotion, but becoming the space that holds it with grace. And that's how you become magnetic, not by having it all figured out, but by being real, regulated, resonant, by walking through the world like you already belong to the reality you desire. Not pretending, remembering, because you've always belonged to it. You've just been tuning your signal to static, but that static is fading now. The grip is loosening, the signal is clearing, and what's coming isn't new. It's familiar, it's home, it's you, finally catching up to your own frequency. So if you feel the urge to try harder, breathe instead. If you feel the need to prove, soften instead. If you feel the panic of not knowing, remember instead. Remember the truth that was always inside you. It's not about doing more. It's about becoming more coherent, more open, more aligned. And from that alignment, reality rushes to meet you, not with force, but with perfect, poetic timing. There's a sacred intelligence pulsing through everything, but it only reveals itself when you stop fighting the moment, when you stop treating now as a problem to fix and begin to see it as the seed of the reality you've been asking for. That's the shift. From resistance to reverence, from urgency to intimacy, from pushing life away to letting it in, breath by breath. Because here's what no one tells you. The version of you who lives in full alignment with her desires doesn't live in the future. She lives right underneath the version of you who's bracing for impact, right beneath the tension, the control, the tight grip of what if it doesn't happen. She's not far. She's hidden in the soft places. The exhale, the moment you stop performing your faith and start feeling it, that's where she lives, in the body, not the mind, in the nervous system that no longer perceives life as a threat. And that's why it's not enough to think positive. You have to become safe enough to receive. You have to show your body, not just your thoughts, that it is safe to hold love, to hold joy, to hold the vision that's been whispering to you in dreams. Because the body doesn't lie. It carries your true frequency. And if the frequency is fear, even disguised as effort, the field will match it, not to punish you, but to protect you. Because the quantum field mirrors your signal with surgical precision, and when your signal is scrambled, your results will be too. But the moment you drop into your body, the moment you breathe all the way down into the place that still thinks it has to earn its worth, the game changes. Now you're not manifesting from your wounds, you're manifesting from your wholeness. You're no longer calling things in from scarcity, but from sovereignty. From that quiet, unwavering sense of, I already am. This is why it's not about trying harder. It's about listening deeper, listening to the parts of you that still believe you have to wait, the parts that flinch when things get good, the parts that sabotage softness because they were never taught how to trust it. Those parts don't need to be fixed. They need to be met, held, heard, because every time you bring compassion into the space where fear once lived, you upgrade your signal. You shift your baseline. You create a new set point for what's normal, and reality responds. You'll start noticing it in small ways. The synchronicities, the ease, the way things begin to flow without you pushing. The phone call you stopped waiting for suddenly appears. The opportunity that felt out of reach now lands in your inbox, and it doesn't feel shocking. It feels natural, because now you're no longer chasing miracles. You're aligned with inevitability. You've become the energetic match for your own vision. This is how reality changes. Not from hustle, from harmony. Not from managing, from magnetizing. Because when you become the version of you who already has it, emotionally, physiologically, vibrationally, then life has no choice but to meet you there. That's how the quantum responds. Not to the timeline you want, but to the timeline you embody. And when your embodiment is clear, coherent, and rooted in enoughness, then manifestation isn't a question anymore. It's a consequence. So don't ask, is it working? Ask, am I becoming? Don't ask, how do I get there? Ask, how do I return to who I truly am? Because that's the work, the real, quiet, revolutionary work. To remember, to regulate, to realign. Again and again, until the reality you once longed for doesn't feel like a miracle anymore. It feels like home. You don't have to convince the universe anymore. You don't have to prove your worth with effort, or earn your desires through exhaustion. That paradigm is dissolving. What's rising now is a new kind of power, the power of presence, of alignment, of resonance that doesn't shout, but hums softly through every cell of your being. You are no longer here to chase timelines. You are here to merge with them. To remember that what you want isn't out there. It's waiting for your signal to become stable enough to receive. So much of what we call waiting is actually misalignment. It's the delay created by doubt, by unconscious interference, by a nervous system that doesn't fully believe it's safe to receive what it's asking for. And until you meet that doubt, not with shame but with love, it will keep disrupting your coherence. Not to sabotage you, but to protect the parts of you still living in survival. This is why manifestation is never just about what you say, it's about what you signal. And you signal through your nervous system, your presence, your self-permission to live in joy even before the results appear. That's when you stop pushing it away, when joy is no longer conditional, when gratitude is no longer a strategy, when worthiness is no longer earned, but remembered. So what does that look like in real time? It looks like waking up and deciding to feel good before there's a reason. It looks like choosing to walk slower, breathe deeper, eat with reverence, move your body like it's a temple instead of a machine. It looks like dancing in your living room even if nothing's working, smiling at yourself in the mirror without needing to fix anything, not because you're trying to be high vibe, but because that's who you are underneath the noise. The truth is, you are the field. You are the observer and the observed. You are the one shaping reality through your coherence. The moment you stop outsourcing your power, the moment you stop waiting for the reflection to change before you shift, that's when timelines collapse. That's when the shift is instant. Because the quantum doesn't need time, it needs clarity. And clarity comes when all parts of you are finally saying the same thing. I am ready. I am enough. I already am. And yes, that kind of clarity takes practice. It takes courage. It takes showing up to the days when nothing seems to move and choosing to embody the movement anyway. Choosing to anchor the vision even when the evidence is quiet. Choosing to be the space where the new reality already exists. Not later, not someday. Now. In this breath. In this choice. In this regulated, radiant, unapologetically magnetic presence. Because that's what you really are. Not someone waiting for miracles, but someone built from them. You are not the seeker, you are the signal. And when your signal is clean, the world reorganizes around you, not in resistance, in resonance, not with delay, with divine precision. All things begin to conspire, not because you forced them, but because you finally remembered your role. You are not here to chase, you are here to attract, not by needing, but by becoming. So as you breathe into this truth, let the noise fall away. Let the stories that kept you small unravel. Let the fear that held you in survival soften in your arms. You don't need to protect yourself from your own power anymore. You don't need to push what's already yours. Just open, just anchor, just be, and watch the universe move in rhythm with the frequency you were always meant to hold. There is a moment, maybe it's this one, where everything inside you goes quiet. Not because you gave up, but because something deeper just clicked into place. A knowing, a shift, a soft, steady exhale that whispers, I don't have to chase anymore. That is the moment reality begins to move. Not the external one, but the inner landscape where timelines originate. Because the world you want isn't somewhere far away. It's here. It's now. It's encoded in the way you breathe, the way you walk, the way you hold your own gaze without flinching. This is where the old story ends. The one where you had to prove yourself, fix yourself, rush yourself into worthiness. And this is where the truth takes root. That manifestation is not a performance. It's a permission slip, a return, a recalibration. You are not trying to convince the universe. You are remembering that you are the universe, localized in human form, sending out signals through emotion, breath, attention. You are not here to become enough. You are here to become aligned. And alignment is not static. It moves with you, it breathes with you. It allows space for your humanness, for the days when doubt creeps in and you forget what you know. That's not failure, it's feedback. It's an invitation to come home again, because the path of manifestation is not about perfection. It's about returning over and over to the frequency that matches your truth, to the embodiment that speaks louder than fear, to the presence that ripples across timelines like a tuning fork, calling your future closer. So when the urge comes to grasp, to rush, to fix, pause, soften, smile. Remember that what you want wants you, and it's not waiting for your effort. It's waiting for your coherence, for your body to say, yes, I can hold this, I can live this. You are not just the creator of your reality. You are the regulator of your readiness, and readiness looks like trust, like rest, like radiance that doesn't need applause to be valid. It looks like dancing with the invisible until it becomes inevitable. And as you live from this place, this anchored, breath-led, truth-filled place, the world will start to respond, not because you finally did the right thing, but because you finally became the right frequency, and everything that was once delayed will start to find you, not all at once, but steadily, naturally, in a rhythm that feels like a remembering, because that's what it is, not a reward, a reflection. You'll walk into rooms differently, speak from a deeper place, love without fear of losing, create without fear of failing, because now you're not living from the question, what if it doesn't happen? You're living from the knowing it already is, and that knowing, that calm, quiet confidence, will do more to change your life than all the effort ever could. So let this be the new way, the way of frequency over force, of embodiment over control, of magnetic clarity over manic chasing. Let yourself be the field, the signal, the safe place for miracles to land, and in that stillness, feel it, the reality that's been waiting for you to stop pushing it away. It's here, it's always been here, and now, so are you, so are